On Monday morning, we departed from our friend's house in Colorado Springs, and we made our way to Rocky Mountain National Park. Here are some photos from a hike at Bear Mountain Lake and some video footage from driving the road that goes through the park. When we got toward the west end of the park, we pulled off to see the very beginning of the Colorado River. Then we left the park intending to find a backcountry camping spot off of a nearby forest road. On our way out, we saw this moose crossing the road. When we got to the forest road, the gate was locked and the sign said it was closed until June 15th. So instead, we went to a public campground at Shadow Mountain Lake, which is just a few minutes' drive south of the park. All right.
So do we have to pick
$23.
site first?
I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, we need a pen first.
We really lucked out here. This turned out to be a great campsite. I always enjoy staying at campsites managed by the U.S. Forest Service because it feels as though you're in a very natural setting rather than a more commercially developed piece of land. These sites were right next to the lake, and we even saw some elk walking right through the campgrounds. On Tuesday, we went down to Buena Vista and visited some of Jake's family who live there. From there, I set up a route to explore some public land just to the east on the other side of Cottonwood Pass. The view from the top of the pass was awesome, as you can see. At the bottom of the pass, we left pavement and found some dirt roads to explore. After driving around for a bit, I found a trail on Gaia called the Union Canyon Trail, so we decided to go and try it out. On the way to the start of this trail, the road took us through a massive, wide open field, surrounded by mountains on every side. Honestly, this is one of the coolest parts of the trip because you really get a sense for how big and remote the Colorado wilderness really is. The trail starts as soon as you cross a small bridge across Lotus Creek, where a rocky road takes you up onto a ridge right above the creek. Then the trail comes back down into the woods, where it winds back and forth through the creek. Since it was later in the day, I didn't get much footage from the trail going in. We were planning on taking this trail all the way through, finding our way back to pavement, and arriving in Lake City that night. However, right at the very end of the trail, we came across an obstacle that we just couldn't pass. So we had to change our plans and camp there for the night. I don't think you are really supposed to camp on this trail, but we had no choice. Luckily, there was a nice spot for us to set up our tent right there. Later, I came to realize that this obstacle was actually the gatekeeper for the trail, and that you're supposed to start at this end of the trail rather than finish. If you're not familiar, a gatekeeper is when the toughest obstacle of the trail is placed at the beginning. This way, if your vehicle isn't capable of passing the obstacle, then you just turn around right at the start, rather than getting stuck in the middle of the trail, or in our case, at the very end with nightfall approaching. Okay, so this is the obstacle we came to last night that we had to make the tough decision to not attempt it. We thought very hard about it, thought I might be able to do it, but we don't have cell service, I don't have a winch, and there's no other vehicles with us, nor did we see anyone else on this trail the whole time we've been on it. So the big concern is this rock right here, potentially getting beached on it, because you have to go as far to the right as you can and then turn it hard back the other way to go past that big boulder without hitting it. And this is just a really high rock that I can see myself getting high centered on and being beached, so, or potentially worse, causing damage to the underside of the vehicle. So we had to make the decision to turn around. We're going to go back out the way we came and keep on exploring.
Bring it like straight towards this rock for a sec. Yep, straight at it. Yep, keep going. Okay, whoa. Alright, cut it driver. Hard, whoa. Harder, cut it driver. Okay, straight. Stop. Now, hard passenger. Straighten it out. You're good. You're gonna bump with this tire. Alright, you're free. Driver. Yep. Straighten it out. Come on.
In the morning, after we had coffee and breakfast, we turned around to go back the way we came. After the big rocks, the rest of the trail was pretty easy. When we got back to the open field, we turned off and followed this route southward across the Sawatch Mountains and over Cumberland Pass. The beginning of this route is called Slaughterhouse Gulch. It is not very difficult, but there was one tricky spot where you have to squeeze through a narrow opening between two trees while going up some uneven ground. It was difficult to get traction at that spot because you had to slow down to a crawl while you carefully fit through these trees, and so you couldn't really use momentum to get over it. After a little gas pedal and spinning, we finally cleared it. Other than that one spot, it was mostly just rough and bumpy, until we got to the gravel road that takes you up the mountain, which was a little bit smoother. We crossed the pass and made it down the other side around midday. Then we made the drive to Lake City, where Jake's family has a cabin. After settling in there, we used their ATV and my 4Runner to explore an old mining site nearby, and we also did some riding at a trail called Nelly Creek. This trail is also an access point to hike Uncompahgre Peak, which is one of Colorado's 14,000-foot peaks. On Thursday morning, we made a quick stop at a trail just outside of town. After hitting the dirt one last time, we went on back to Colorado Springs, where we spent one last night with our friends before making the trip back to Dayton.